Welcome to Mentoring Skills Session 2. My name's Liz White and we are going to consider how to develop the discourse around equality, diversity and inclusion, that's EDI, in your weekly mentor meetings. We have been thinking about the educative mentoring approach and how the characteristics of this are a critical friendship, collaborative partnership, analysing experience together, focusing on pupils' learning, moving from learn that to learn how to from the core content framework, and we found that learning is situated in the actual doing of activities. So as educative mentors, we are moving towards more discussion around how we learn from teaching rather than telling and judging our student teachers. And this fits in very well with considering equality, diversity and inclusion as a teacher. And so we think that these resources that we're going to share with you today may help you in some of the discourse that you might have with your student teacher. It might also help you with working with your pupils around some areas that are maybe harder to find the language for a discussion. Firstly, we're going to listen to a short video clip by Claude Steele from Stanford about stereotype threat, as it has direct application to our classrooms. You will need to stop this video and start Claude's video at 1.43 minutes in. After you've listened to the video, please restart the video slideshow that I've put together for you. Thank you. So today we are going to think about how to set up an appropriate context for EDI conversations as a teacher in your classroom and as mentors with your student teachers. We will be sharing with you a resource that you'll be able to use either on site or online. So we will be using a Jamboard that you can access. The link will be in this slideshow and also the link for you to be able to download the EDI resources. These cards also come with a booklet that gives you ideas of how to set up a safe environment and how you could use the cards. The resources have been created to facilitate conversations about equality, diversity and inclusion. Interestingly, there's not a card for stereotypes, but there are cards for bias and some of the identities that we may be prejudiced and discriminate against, such as gender, language and religion. In a few minutes we're going to think about setting the context, and then we will introduce an activity that you can have a go at so that you can see how you might like to use the cards. In the ITT Core Content Framework there are close links with EDI. Number 8, Professional Behaviour, explains how following expert input student teachers should take opportunities to practice, receive feedback and improve at contributing positively to the wider school culture and developing a feeling of shared responsibility for improving the lives of all pupils within the school. And number 1, high expectations. Teachers have the ability to affect and improve the well-being, motivation and behaviour of their pupils. They are key role models who can influence the attitudes, values and behaviour of all their pupils, and teacher expectations can affect pupil outcomes. Setting clear expectations can help communicate shared values that improve classroom and school culture, and a culture of mutual trust and respect will support effective relationships. As we look at the cards, we will be thinking about the what, i.e. the content, and also the how we might use them. Additionally, because we are teacher educators, we are situated on this layered pathway here, of setting up a safe environment. So we're going to think now about how we could do this, and it will be modelled to you. And as you work with student teachers or directly with your pupils, you will need to set up a safe environment, and also to remind your student teacher, if they are going to use the cards, that they will need to set up a safe environment. So you would be modelling that to them and discuss together where you think it might be appropriate to use the cards. When you open the link, you will open the Jamboard that we are working with today because we're online, and the first frame suggests appropriate ground rules that can be agreed upon to set up a safe space, or you might prefer to call it a brave space because it won't always be a comfortable space to work in. I suggest you pause the video while you have a look at the ground rules. Obviously, if you are looking at this now on your own, you won't be having to agree ground rules for working, but we're providing you with some already discussion thoughts on the different cards that have been created through previous discussions. There's one card on each page, and the question for you to think about is what opportunities and challenges might arise in relation to this card in your setting. I suggest that you have a look at what other people have put, and you might like to add a post-it of your own, and you are welcome to go forward and have a look at different cards and add your thoughts about how these different issues might play out in your setting. Again, I suggest you pause this video. If you decide to use the cards as a pack, you might like to add some blank cards so that people can add anything that they feel hasn't been covered. But I imagine that as a mentor, you might want to use some of these cards with your student teacher in a one-to-one setting. So you might find it easier just to have one sheet with all 18 cards printed on it, and then your student teacher or you could keep that handy, and then you might want to refer to it in mentor meetings if there have been particular areas that you want to focus the discussion on, or maybe your student teacher would like to have a look around and choose themselves which card they would like to discuss that has been relevant maybe to things that have been going on in their classroom. It's always easier to start with the cards that you feel comfortable with, maybe things like inclusion, belonging and culture. I would suggest that you might, if you're in a one-to-one situation, you might prefer to sit alongside your student teacher rather than opposite them. This is an instructional coaching model so that you're not so intimidating on discussing things which could be quite sensitive. Here are some suggested benefits of using the cards to provide a prompt and maybe to give language to get started. Maybe you can think of some other benefits and challenges. One of the challenges we thought about was if a word came up in the discussion that someone wasn't happy about, that we need to be able to tell people that if they don't feel comfortable with a word, try not to take offence, but challenge the use of words and suggest maybe alternative use of words which might be preferable. The EDI cards and booklet are available for you to download from this web page. You need to scroll right to the bottom of the page to find them. Other resources that you might find useful is there is an inclusive teaching diagnostic that you could use to look at your own teaching, and your student could use it to look at their teaching, and you might like to discuss that together. There's also a very short video from Ofsted about social justice and inclusion and the curriculum in schools, which you might find useful. Finally, the educative mentor certification might be of interest to you. You can look in your mentor handbook to find out about this, but it just involves a self-review, the school endorsement from your professional mentor, and contacting the visiting tutor to ask them to set aside time for a professional learning conversation with them, so that you can share with them how you've been using educative mentoring with your student teacher. It's been good to be able to share this with you. We hope you find it helpful. We'd love to hear any feedback from you. Questions and feedback, if you would like to send them to my email address e.j.white@hearts.ac.uk. Thank you.